Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
14 years of marriage, 2 kids, a house in the Portland suburbs built on land Ethan inherited from his parents, but they designed and raised it together, brick by brick, dream by dream. Melissa was a professor of comparative literature at the State University, a woman who preferred books to spotlights and deep conversations to superficial chit-chat. Her social media was practically barren, just the occasional photo of the kids, maybe a quote from some classic author. Nothing more. So when she started posting more often than usual, Ethan noticed. First came a solo photo of her smiling in a way he hadn't seen in a long time, captioned, "Rebirth." Then quotes about finding your own voice and women who choose themselves. Ethan thought it was odd but chalked it up to some self-discovery phase, maybe influenced by a new book or a women's support group. Melissa had always been intense, emotional. He didn't question it. Then came the post that changed everything. A selfie of her on campus, hair blowing in the wind, distant look in her eyes, with the simple caption, "Independent Women." Ethan scrolled through the comments absent-mindedly while having coffee that Thursday morning. Melissa's colleagues, friends, former students, all leaving supportive emojis and motivational phrases. Until he saw it. A comment from a man named Adrian Holloway, "Finally." Just one word. But there was something in it, an intimacy, a complicity, that made Ethan's stomach tighten. He clicked on the profile. Adrian Holloway, visiting professor of cultural studies, in Portland from Boston for a semester-long academic exchange. Salt and pepper hair at the temples, a confident half-smile in his photos, posing at international conferences. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. Melissa had mentioned a visiting professor a few times, but always in passing, always casually. Ethan wasn't the type to jump to conclusions. As an architect, he thought in structures, foundations, logic. But that one word, finally, wouldn't leave his head. Finally what? Finally she was free? Finally she found the courage? That night, when Melissa got home after a department meeting, Ethan watched her with fresh eyes. She was different. More put together. A new perfume. She kissed the kids, asked about their day, but barely looked at Ethan. After dinner, while she helped the children with homework, Ethan opened the shared laptop they used for family finances. His heart pounded when he saw the recent browser history. Melissa had forgotten to clear it. Hotels. She'd searched for hotels downtown Portland, not for family trips, but for romantic weekend getaways. Ethan felt the room spin. He needed more. He needed certainty before making accusations, before destroying everything based on suspicion alone. Then he remembered the car security app. 2 years earlier, after Melissa's car was broken into in the university parking lot, they'd installed a GPS tracking system, strictly for safety, in case the car got stolen. Ethan had never used it for anything else. Until now. He opened the app on his phone, hands slightly trembling. The location history for the past 30 days appeared on screen. Most of the routes were normal: home, university, grocery store, her parents' house. But there were others. 3 times in the past week, Melissa's car had been parked at the Riverside Hotel, a boutique hotel downtown, always between 2 and 5 in the afternoon. Always on days she claimed to have extended academic meetings or student advising sessions. Ethan checked the dates. One was last Tuesday, the same day she came home at 7 saying the curriculum committee meeting had run late. He didn't sleep that night. Melissa snored softly beside him, oblivious to the silent storm brewing inside him. The next morning, Friday, Ethan called his office and said he was sick. Melissa left early for the university, promising to be back by mid-afternoon. Ethan waited until 11, then grabbed his car keys and drove downtown. He parked on a side street with a view of the Riverside Hotel entrance. He felt ridiculous, pathetic, snooping like some cheap thriller. But he needed to know. At 12:30 p.m., he saw Melissa's car pull into the hotel lot. His heart stopped. She stepped out, glanced around quickly, and went in through the side door. 15 minutes later, a gray BMW parked in the same spot. Adrian Holloway got out, casual suit, confident stride, and entered through the same door. Ethan waited. He snapped photos with his phone, hands shaking. Nausea rose in his throat, but he forced himself to stay. 2.5 hours later, they came out together. Adrian touched Melissa's waist possessively, intimately. She laughed at something he said, leaned her head on his shoulder for a brief second before they split up and headed to their separate cars. Ethan took more photos. Evidence. Concrete proof. He drove home on autopilot, his mind stripped of emotion, filled only with a sharp, ringing buzz. When Melissa arrived at 5, fresh, fragrant, smiling, Ethan was sitting at the kitchen table. She kissed the top of his head absent-mindedly and went to shower. Ethan heard the water turn on. Heard her humming. Something inside him snapped. But he didn't confront her. Not yet. Ethan was methodical. He needed everything, every detail, before acting. That night, after Melissa fell asleep, he took the shared laptop again and dug deeper. He found the iCloud account where photos and messages automatically synced. His heart nearly stopped when he saw it. Hundreds of messages between Melissa and Adrian. They'd started 4 months ago, right after his semester at the university began. At first, academic discussions, debates about literary theory. Then they turned personal. Then romantic. Then explicit. Ethan read every word, each one like a blade. Adrian called her the most fascinating woman he'd ever met, said her marriage was a gilded prison, that she deserved to be truly seen. Melissa replied that she felt alive for the first time in years, that she was tired of just being a mom and wife, and wanted more from life before it was too late. There were photos of them together at distant restaurants, in hotels, in intimate embraces. Melissa wore clothes Ethan had never seen her in, smiled in a way he hadn't seen in years. Then Ethan saw the message that froze his blood. 3 weeks earlier, Melissa had written, "I'm late. I think I need to take a test." Adrian replied, "Whatever the result, we're in this together. You know I love you." Ethan felt the world collapse. Was she pregnant? Whose child was it, his or Adrian's? He leaned back in his chair, breath coming in short gasps. He needed air. Needed to think. But before closing the laptop, he saw one last message, from 2 days ago. "Melissa, I took the test. Positive. Don't know what to do. Adrian, we need to talk. This changes everything." Ethan spent the weekend in controlled shock. He pretended everything was normal. Took the kids to the park, made pancakes Sunday morning, watched TV with Melissa at night as if nothing were happening. She didn't notice anything, or maybe she just didn't want to. On Monday morning, as soon as Melissa left for work and the kids for school, Ethan picked up the phone and called a divorce lawyer a colleague had recommended years ago as a joke. It wasn't a joke anymore. The lawyer, a man named Richard Chen, listened to everything and gave clear instructions: document everything, don't confront her yet, and above all, confirm the pregnancy. Ethan followed his advice. That afternoon, while Melissa was at the university, he searched the bathroom and found the pregnancy test hidden in the back of the cabinet. Positive. 2 clear lines. On Tuesday, Ethan sent the kids to Melissa's parents' house, saying he and his wife needed a couple's night to reconnect. His in-laws were thrilled, thinking their marriage was being nurtured. If only they knew. Ethan prepared a simple dinner at home: pasta, wine for himself, juice for her. Melissa arrived at 7, surprised by the set table and lit candles. "What's this?" she asked, smiling warily. "We need to talk," Ethan said, his voice calm and controlled. She sat down, still confused. Ethan opened the laptop and turned the screen toward her. The messages with Adrian were right there, open, undeniable. Melissa's face went white instantly. Ethan, She started, but he raised his hand. No. Let me speak first. His voice sounded strangely steady, as if it belonged to someone else. Ethan placed printed photos on the table, one by one. Melissa and Adrian entering the hotel. Leaving together. Embracing at a restaurant in Beaverton. She covered her mouth with her hand, tears filling her eyes. How long? Ethan asked. Silence. How long, Melissa? She flinched. 4 months, she whispered. Ethan nodded slowly, as if confirming something he already knew. And you're pregnant. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Melissa started sobbing, shoulders shaking. I don't know whose it is, she admitted between tears. I don't, Ethan. I swear I don't. He felt bile rising but kept his composure. Then we'll find out. Tomorrow morning, you go to the doctor and request a non-invasive paternity test. I've already booked it. 8 o'clock. Melissa looked at him, eyes red, shattered. Ethan, please, can we talk about this, can we? No, he cut in, voice cold as ice. There's no talking. You destroyed 14 years. You betrayed not just me, but our children too. You slept with another man and now you're pregnant without even knowing whose child it is. There's no conversation, Melissa. Only consequences. She reached for his hand, but Ethan pulled away as if her touch burned. Who is he, by the way? Adrian Holloway. Let me guess, he's married, right? Melissa went even paler. Ethan let out a bitter laugh, utterly humorless. I looked him up. Married 19 years. 3 kids. His wife, Catherine, is a doctor in Boston. They came to Portland together for his sabbatical semester. She doesn't know anything, does she? Melissa shook her head, unable to speak. Ethan went on, each word deliberate and sharp. You were so careful, weren't you? So clever. Posting about independence and rebirth like it was just female empowerment, when really you were signaling to him you were ready to walk away from everything. That, finally, comment of his, it was him celebrating that you finally had the guts to openly cheat on me, wasn't it? Melissa sobbed louder. It wasn't like that, it wasn't, don't lie to me now, Ethan growled, losing some of his calm. You lost the right to lie to me. I read every single message, Melissa. Every one. I know what you two said to each other. I know you called me emotionally distant, said our marriage was dead, that you deserved real passion. Well, congratulations. You got it. And now you'll pay the price. He slid an envelope across the table. Melissa opened it with shaking hands. Divorce papers. She looked at Ethan, stunned. You already filed? Not yet, Ethan replied. But I will. Tomorrow, after the paternity test. My lawyer, Richard Chen, already has everything ready. You'll sign, or this will get a lot uglier and more public than it needs to be. Melissa stood up, desperate. Ethan, please, the kids, think of the kids, I think about them, he shouted, finally losing control. I think about them every day. Did you think about them when you were screwing Adrian in a hotel room? When you were planning to destroy this family? Melissa stepped back, frightened. Ethan took a deep breath, regaining his composure. Sit down. I'm not finished. She sat, trembling. Ethan continued, his voice returning to that icy tone. Here's how it's going to be. Tomorrow, paternity test. If the child is mine, you still lose primary custody because I'll prove you're an unfit mother, unstable, adulterous, incapable of providing a safe environment. If the child isn't mine, you raise her alone while I get full-time custody of Lucas and Emma. Either way, you lose. Melissa shook her head violently. No, no, you can't take my kids away, I can. And I will. You chose this, Melissa. You chose Adrian. You chose the affair. You chose lies and betrayal. Now live with the consequences. He paused, then added sharply, oh, and Catherine, Adrian's wife? She's going to find out. Tomorrow. I'm sending her everything, messages, photos, everything. She deserves to know what kind of man she married. Just like I deserve to know what kind of woman I married. Melissa completely crumbled, sliding off her chair onto the kitchen floor, begging. Ethan, please, don't do this, please, I love you, it was a mistake, I was confused, you don't love me, Ethan said, looking at her without a trace of pity. You love the idea of the security I represent. You love the house, the stable life, the kids. But you don't love me. And I certainly don't love you anymore. I loved Melissa Parker, my wife of 14 years. But she's gone. The woman sitting here now? I don't know her. He grabbed his car keys. I'm sleeping in a hotel tonight. Tomorrow at 8, you'll be at that clinic. After that, you have 2 days to move out of this house. Stay at your mom's apartment, stay with Adrian, I don't care. But you won't sleep under the same roof as me again. And he left, leaving Melissa sobbing on the kitchen floor of the home they'd chosen together years ago, back when there was still love. The non-invasive paternity test took 10 days to come back. They were the longest 10 days of Ethan's life. Melissa moved into a small rented apartment on the other side of town. Ethan stayed in the house with the kids, who were confused and scared by the sudden separation. He told them Mom and Dad are having problems, that sometimes adults need space, gentle lies to shield them from the brutal truth. Lucas, 9 years old, asked if it was their fault. Ethan hugged his son and assured him it wasn't, never would be. Emma, 6, just cried at night, asking for her mom. Ethan's heart broke, but he held firm. This wasn't his fault. It was Melissa's. Meanwhile, Ethan kept his word. He sent everything to Catherine Holloway, message screenshots, photos, a detailed account of the affair. The response came the next day. Catherine called, voice-controlled but clearly furious, thanking him for his honesty. She confirmed she had no idea, Adrian had come to Portland for a unique academic opportunity, and she'd stayed in Boston because she couldn't leave the hospital. 2 weeks later, through university contacts, Ethan learned Adrian had been abruptly called back to Boston, their visiting professor contract terminated due to personal matters. Catherine had also filed for divorce. Adrian lost everything, his marriage, academic position, reputation. Melissa tried calling him dozens of times. He blocked her number. The test results arrived on a cold November Tuesday. Ethan opened the envelope alone in his office. He read the critical line 3 times before it sank in, probability of paternity, 0%. The child wasn't his. Ethan didn't know whether to feel relief or devastation. Maybe both. He called Richard Chen, who immediately sped up the divorce process. With proof of infidelity, an illegitimate child, and witnesses confirming Melissa's emotional instability, Ethan secured primary custody of Lucas and Emma. Melissa would get supervised visits twice a month. The house stayed with Ethan, it was in his name, inherited from his parents. The asset division heavily favored him, given the verified betrayal and abandonment on her part. The divorce was finalized in March, 6 months after the initial discovery. Melissa, now visibly pregnant, showed up to the final hearing alone, no Adrian, no support, just her and the baby growing inside her. Ethan saw her and felt nothing. Not anger, not pain, not satisfaction. Just emptiness where love used to be. When the judge declared the marriage dissolved, Melissa started crying silently. Ethan signed the papers, thanked his lawyer, and walked out without looking back. Outside the courthouse, the sun shone brightly. Spring was coming. Time for new beginnings. Life went on. Ethan focused on his kids, his career, rebuilding. Lucas and Emma slowly adjusted to their new reality. Melissa gave birth to a daughter in June, alone, without Adrian, without full family support. Her parents were ashamed, her friends drifted away once the story got out. The university didn't renew her contract after the scandal, though officially it was budget cuts. Everyone knew the truth. She landed a part-time job at a community college, earning a third of what she used to make, raising alone a daughter who looked at her with Adrian Holloway's eyes. 3 years passed. Ethan sat in a downtown Portland cafe on a Saturday morning, reviewing blueprints for a new project, when he saw Melissa walk in. She was with her young daughter, now almost 3, curly brown hair, curious eyes. Melissa looked tired, older, dressed simply, hair in a messy bun. She saw him and froze. For a moment, their eyes met. Ethan saw it all there: regret, shame, deep sorrow. He gave a slight nod, polite acknowledgement, nothing more. Melissa seemed about to approach, but something in his expression stopped her. She grabbed her coffee and left quickly, her daughter chattering innocently beside her. Ethan returned to his blueprints. He thought of Lucas and Emma, now 12 and 9, healthy, stable, loved. He thought of Sarah, the kind landscape architect he'd been seeing for a few months, whom the kids already liked. He thought of the life he'd rebuilt from the wreckage Melissa left behind. It wasn't the life he'd planned 14 years ago when he said, "I do," at the altar. But it was his life. Authentic, honest, free from lies. Melissa had chosen independence, only to discover that independence without integrity is just loneliness. She was free now, free from marriage, free from expectations, free from Ethan. But also free from respect, trust, peace. Some freedoms cost everything. And as Ethan sipped his coffee, gazing out the window at the city he loved, he knew he'd made the right choice. He'd chosen dignity. He'd chosen his children. He'd chosen truth. And unlike Melissa, he hadn't run. He'd stood his ground. And that made all the difference. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.